The Galactic Council chamber floated like a shimmering jewel above the twin suns of Lumera 5. Its walls were made of crystal, bending light into colors that danced across the faces of every delegate inside. Representatives of more than 50 civilizations had gathered. Some had wings like dragons, some had shells like tanks, some glowed from within. Yet despite their strange appearances, they all shared one goal: to discuss the growing presence of humans in the galaxy. For centuries, humans were considered a minor species. Their homeworld, Earth, was ancient history to most, a planet told in myths and legends. Other species had explored hundreds of systems, conquered thousands of planets, and built fleets the size of small moons. Humans, by comparison, had always been small, clever, and unpredictable, but never threatening. The Council President, Zilak, a tall being with translucent wings and a glowing chest, raised his gavel. His voice hummed in the chamber like a low vibration. "We are here to discuss human activity in multiple sectors. Reports show unauthorized construction, sudden terraforming, and, most concerning, military-grade starships." A low murmur ran through the room. Many delegates scoffed, believing humans could not pose a threat. "Their ships are barely enough for planetary defense," Kriv, a crustacean-like delegate, snapped with his pincers. "How can they worry a Galactic Council fleet?" But the reports kept coming. Scouts had seen sleek human ships moving faster than expected. Traders whispered of human outposts appearing in systems that were supposedly unclaimed. Their technology, though not the largest, showed precision, discipline, and something the Council could not measure: courage. Meanwhile, far away, a human ship called the USS Vanguard raced through hyperspace. Its black hull was smooth and strong, reflecting the light of distant stars like a shadow in motion. Inside, Captain Ilara Voss studied the holographic star maps projected before her. She was young, determined, and known for her unshakable focus. "This council thinks they know humans," she said softly to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Reese. "They don't, not yet." Her crew, a mix of veterans and pioneers, exchanged glances full of trust. They had trained for this moment, knowing that entering the Galactic Council chamber without invitation was risky. Some might call it reckless. But humanity had been underestimated for too long. The Council had ignored them. The galaxy had laughed at them. And now it was time to show that humans were not to be ignored. "Prepare for drop-in protocol," Captain Voss ordered. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of command. "We make this peaceful, but we will not hide who we are." Every crew member moved with purpose. Engineers monitored energy output. Tactical officers checked weapon systems. Communications officers prepared a single clear message. Humanity would speak clearly and boldly. No excuses, no hesitation. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, silent witnesses to what was about to happen. The Vanguard moved like a heartbeat in the void, steady and unrelenting. Every light it passed seemed to quiver, as if sensing the change that was coming. Captain Voss took a deep breath. "Remember," she said almost to herself, "we are not just representing a ship. We are representing all of humanity. Every doubt cast on us, every insult, every mockery, they end tonight." Her eyes met those of her officers. In that instant, no fear remained. Only determination. Only belief. Only the quiet, unstoppable strength that humans had carried for centuries. The courage to face the impossible, and the will to succeed when no one believed they could. The USS Vanguard emerged from hyperspace. Ahead of it stretched the Galactic Council, glittering and vast. For centuries, humans had been small, dismissed and forgotten. Now one single human ship and one determined captain would change everything. The calm before the shock ended the moment the Vanguard's engines hummed steadily, signaling the arrival that the galaxy would never forget. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with chatter as delegates debated. Holographic star maps floated in midair, showing trade routes, unclaimed sectors, and the rising threats humans were rumored to be addressing. Representatives argued passionately, some waving multiple limbs, others changing color with agitation. It was a familiar chaos, the kind of chaos that had defined the Council for centuries. Then alarms blared, a deep vibrating sound that shook the floor of the chamber. The chatter stopped instantly. Holograms flickered as red alerts blinked across the walls. Delegates froze, their many eyes and sensors turning toward the source. A human ship had entered the Council's protective perimeter. It was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. The USS Vanguard emerged from hyperspace like a shadow cutting through starlight. Its black hull reflected the twin suns of Lumera 5, sharp and angular, almost defiant in its design. It did not hide. It did not slow. It simply arrived. Gasps echoed throughout the chamber. Some delegates recoiled. Others whispered urgently to their neighbors. Zelak, the council president, hovered in disbelief, his wings trembling. It cannot be, he murmured. Humans would not dare enter without permission. But there it was, silent and powerful, hovering like a statement in the void. The council's defensive systems hummed, shields activating automatically, yet no one dared fire. Even the most aggressive species sensed the wrongness of provoking humans without understanding them. The human ship's communication system activated. A holographic projection filled the chamber, showing Captain Alara Voss's calm, determined face. Her uniform was simple, functional, but her eyes shone with resolve. "I am Captain Alara Voss of the USS Vanguard," she announced. Her voice was steady, clear, and strangely warm. "Humans have arrived in your galaxy not as conquerors, but as protectors. We come because threats have grown unchecked, and your council's inaction risks countless lives. We request to speak. Make no mistake, this is your warning and your opportunity. Silence." A silence so deep that every tentacle, wing, and eye stalk in the chamber felt its weight. Delegates had never heard such directness, such confidence, such undeniable clarity. Kriv, the crustacean-like representative, snapped his pincers nervously. "One ship. It cannot be."
"This is a bluff!"
But the projection did not flinch. Captain Voss continued, "We do not seek war. We do not seek to dominate. We seek only to defend, to act where others hesitate. You have ignored humans for too long. You have underestimated us. That ends today." Whispers spread through the chamber. Other delegates scanned data feeds trying to find flaws in the humans' claims. But the Vanguard was real, massive and impossible to deny. Its shields were strong, its engines unmatched in speed, its weapons capable of precision strikes. And yet it carried no aggression, only a quiet warning. Humans were not to be taken lightly. Zelak struggled to speak, his voice trembling. You asked to speak? But humans, your fleets, your technology." Captain Voss interrupted gently yet firmly. "We are not here to negotiate weakness. We are here to speak truth. You may see us as small, minor players, but you will learn that humanity is not measured by size or history. We are measured by courage, unity, and action. Choose your next step wisely." The chamber seemed to shrink in that moment. Delegates whispered to each other in alarm and awe. Even the oldest species, who had ruled galaxies for millennia, felt an unfamiliar fear. Not of violence, but of the truth. Humans were no longer a minor threat. They were a force to be reckoned with. Outside, the Vanguard hovered silently, engines thrumming with quiet power. The stars reflected off its black hull, and every light in the galaxy seemed to pause, watching. This was not just the arrival of a ship. This was the arrival of humanity as a presence, as a statement, as a declaration that the galaxy could no longer ignore them. And in that silence, one thought passed through the chamber. Unspoken but undeniable. The humans had come. The chamber remained silent for several long moments, the delegates unable to comprehend the presence of a single human ship in their midst. Murmurs spread slowly, like ripples across water, but no one dared speak directly to the captain. The humans had arrived uninvited, yet without aggression, and that was almost more unnerving than an attack. Kriv, the crustacean-like delegate, finally broke the tension. "It is absurd," he snapped, pincers clattering against the table. "One ship cannot threaten the council. Their fleet is tiny. They cannot—" He stopped abruptly as a subtle ripple passed through the Vanguard's hull, detectable even from the chamber. The humans were watching every movement. Every word seemed carefully measured. Even the council's most confident members felt a chill, as if the humans could read their fear. Zelak tried to regain control. His wings shimmered with agitation. "Human, explain your purpose. Why enter without consent? This is unprecedented, dangerous, reckless." Captain Voss's holographic image did not flinch. "We entered because the galaxy cannot wait. Threats are rising in sectors where the council has hesitated for decades. Systems are being destroyed. Lives are being lost, and decisions are delayed by bureaucracy and fear. We do not act out of arrogance. We act out of necessity. You have been warned." A wave of tension passed through the council. Some delegates whispered. Others scanned the data streaming from the human's ship. Energy outputs, propulsion systems, tactical drones. Everything was advanced, precise, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Not in size, perhaps, but in ingenuity and effectiveness. One of the older delegates, a creature with crystalline ski, and named Trexel, muttered under its breath, They have technology that we cannot predict, weapons we cannot see, defense we cannot measure. Captain Voss continued, her voice calm but commanding. Humanity is small, yes, but we do not rely solely on size or numbers. We rely on determination, adaptability, and unity. You will find that these qualities are as dangerous as any fleet. We do not ask for your approval, Council members. We ask only for your attention and your willingness to act before it is too late. A few delegates shifted nervously. They had underestimated humans for centuries. They had mocked their small fleets, laughed at their homeworld, and dismissed their achievements. And now one single ship with one determined captain had done what no other species could. Force the entire council to pause, listen, and fear the truth. Zelak's voice trembled, though he tried to maintain authority. You speak of threats, yet you cannot name them specifically. How do we know you are not overreacting? Or worse, provoking conflict? Captain Voss tilted her head slightly, her eyes steady. We name them by the damage left in their wake. We name them by the cries of those who cannot defend themselves. We name them by the failures of those too afraid to act. We are not provoking conflict. We are preventing it. But prevention requires courage. Courage you have delayed for too long. The chamber grew quieter. The council could no longer argue with human presence, they could only acknowledge it. Even Kriv, who prided himself on logic and strength, found himself unnerved by the unwavering resolve in Captain Voss's voice. The humans were not here for negotiation in the usual sense. They were here to change the rules. Outside, the Vanguard floated like a sentinel in space. Its black hull reflected the council's crystal walls, the twin suns, and the stars beyond. It was a silent promise. Humans had come to stay, humans had come to act, and humans had come to remind the galaxy that courage could outweigh centuries of power and experience. And deep in the hearts of the council members, a small, undeniable seed of respect and fear began to grow. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council understood a truth they had never fully grasped. Humans were not to be underestimated. Not ever. And with that understanding, tension shifted. It was no longer only worry or disbelief. It was recognition. Recognition that humanity had arrived, and that arrival would change everything. The council remained in stunned silence, unable to fully process the arrival of a single human warship. The delegates whispered among themselves, debating in rapid, nervous tones, yet no one dared to interrupt Captain Voss's steady projection. The Vanguard hovered like a shadow of inevitability, its engines pulsing with quiet energy. Finally, Zelak cleared his throat, wings trembling slightly. Humans, you have entered without permission. You speak of threats we do not yet understand. You claim to defend life where the Council hesitates, but what guarantee do we have that your presence will not escalate into war? Captain Voss's eyes met his through the hologram. The galaxy does not need guarantees, she said simply. It needs action. Humans act not out of arrogance, but necessity. We are not here to start a war, we are here to prevent one. But prevention requires cooperation, and if the Council cannot act, we will. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Some delegates leaned forward, curious, almost fascinated. Others recoiled, uncertain how to respond to a species that spoke with both courage and clarity. For centuries, the Council had expected humans to plead, negotiate, or hesitate. Instead, one human had forced them to reconsider everything. Trexel, the crystalline delegate, spoke up. And what do you propose, human? That we surrender authority to a species we barely understand? Captain Voss's lips curved into a faint, calm smile. Not surrender, collaboration. Humanity does not demand control. We offer assistance. We have intelligence, technology, and experience in situations where action is required, even when others hesitate. We will share what we can. We will fight where it is necessary. And in return, we ask only that the Council acknowledge our presence and respect our choice to act when action is needed. The Council chamber erupted into debate, voices clashing in a storm of confusion and doubt. Some argued that humans were reckless, that their intervention could destabilize entire sectors. Others whispered that humans might be the only species capable of standing against threats the Council had ignored for centuries. Kriv, snapping his pincers angrily, hissed, "This is insane. One species cannot enforce peace. We cannot trust humans to act without oversight." Captain Voss's image remained unwavering. "You are correct. Humans cannot act alone in the galaxy, but you have failed to act. Systems fall. Innocents die. If you cannot protect them, someone must. That is what humans do. That is what we will continue to do." A hush settled over the chamber. The Council had heard countless threats, witnessed advanced fleets, and faced terrifying enemies. Yet never before had they seen such conviction in a single species. There was something undeniably human about it. A willingness to face danger head-on, to act decisively when others faltered, and to hold oneself accountable even in the vast unknown of space. Zilak finally spoke again, voice low and careful. "And if the Council refuses your offer?" Captain Voss's tone sharpened yet remained calm. "Then we act anyway. Humanity will not stand idle while life is destroyed because the powerful hesitate. This is not a threat. It is a fact. We do not wait for permission when the cost is innocent lives. You may attempt to stop us, but the galaxy will remember who acted and who only talked." Whispers turned into uneasy silence. Every delegate understood the weight of her words. One ship, one human had changed the conversation. The Council could continue as before, hiding behind bureaucracy and fear, or they could embrace the humans' offer and act decisively. For the first time in its history, the Council was confronted not with a fleet, but with a principle, a truth that stretched beyond size, influence, or tradition. Humans did not ask for permission, they asked for recognition. They did not demand fear, they demanded respect. And in the quiet that followed, the delegates realized that humanity had already won the first battle, not of war, but of presence. The choice now was theirs: accept it, or resist a species that had proven in one bold arrival that it would not be ignored. Outside, the Vanguard floated steadily, engines humming like a heartbeat in the void. Stars reflected on its black hull as if acknowledging the moment. Captain Voss looked out at the chamber silently. The humans had made their offer. The Council would decide their next move. But no matter what happened, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The Council chamber was tense. Delegates whispered and glared at each other, uncertain what to do. The arrival of the USS Vanguard had shaken centuries of tradition. Many felt fear, others disbelief, and some even anger. The humans had entered uninvited, demanded attention, and challenged the Council's authority, all without firing a single weapon. Zilak's wings trembled as he spoke. "Council members, we cannot ignore what has occurred. This human captain has shown both courage and force. But how do we measure intent? How do we know this is not a prelude to conquest?" Captain Alara Voss's hologram remained calm. Her eyes held the warmth of conviction, but the sharpness of steel. "You may doubt us," she said softly. "That is your choice. But remember this: humanity does not need to fire weapons to be dangerous. We act with purpose. We act with precision. And we act for life, not power." Some delegates, like Trexel, leaned forward, intrigued. "Purpose and precision are admirable, human," he said slowly. "But how can you defend life across countless systems alone? Your species is small, your numbers few." A faint smile touched Captain Voss's lips. "Size does not determine outcome. Determination does. Ingenuity does. Humanity survives because we adapt, we persist, we unite. You may measure fleets and armies, but we measure resolve, and that cannot be ignored." The chamber was silent, yet tension hung thick. Even Kriv, who had argued loudly against the humans, felt a knot of unease in his chest. Humans had always been underestimated, but now their very presence demanded acknowledgement. Zilak tried to assert control. "Humans, we cannot make hasty decisions. We require verification, proof that your actions will be in the interest of the galaxy and not your species alone." Captain Voss nodded, as if expecting this. "We anticipated your hesitation. That is why we are here. You will see firsthand how humans act. You will see our methods. You may accompany us, observe, and judge, but do not delay action. Systems are at risk. Lives are at stake." With a wave of her hand, the projection shifted. Holograms appeared around the chamber, showing planets under threat. Star systems devastated by pirates, rogue fleets, and unchecked natural disasters flickered in vivid detail. Humans were already intervening in remote corners of the galaxy, often silently, often alone. Delegates gasped. Some turned away, unable to witness the destruction. Others leaned closer, stunned by the humans' commitment. It was one thing to hear of a species' courage. It was another to see the results of it in action. Kriv hissed, snapping his pincers. "And you expect us to simply trust you?" Captain Voss's gaze was unwavering. "Trust is earned by action, not words. We ask only that you witness, observe, judge, and perhaps you will see that humans act for the greater good, even when no one else will." The council slowly realized the challenge before them. This was not a test of power. It was a test of belief, judgment, and courage. Humans had given them the chance to see truth firsthand, to step aside from fear and prejudice, to recognize that bravery, unity, and intelligence could outweigh centuries of complacency. Zilak exhaled, a mixture of relief and uncertainty in his voice. "Very well. Humans we will observe, but we remain cautious. Your actions may yet decide whether this council welcomes you or condemns you." Captain Voss nodded once. "We accept your caution. We do not expect blind trust. But know this, hesitation will cost lives. Action will save them. The choice is yours." Outside the council chamber, the Vanguard floated like a silent sentinel. Stars reflected off its hull, steady and unwavering. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors, but as a force that demanded recognition. The council would watch. They would judge. But the galaxy would never underestimate humans again. And in the quiet that followed, a single, unspoken truth hung in the chamber. Humans were no longer a myth. They were the measure of courage in a galaxy that had long forgotten it. The council watched in stunned silence as the USS Vanguard moved beyond their chamber, entering the sector flagged as most at risk. Holographic screens flickered in the council's hall, showing live feeds from the human ship's sensors. Planets under threat, previously ignored or abandoned, now appeared with ships in orbit, rescue operations underway, and defensive measures activated. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the stars. "Lieutenant Reese, deploy the drones to the Arden cluster. We need to secure the colonies before the raiders arrive." "Yes, Captain," Reese replied. The crew moved with precision and calm efficiency, each step coordinated like a single living organism. Every console, every command, every motion was part of a well-rehearsed symphony of action. In the council chamber, delegates leaned forward, mesmerized. They had debated, argued, and doubted humans for centuries, yet now they were witnessing proof of their words. Humans acted decisively, courageously, and efficiently. No hesitation, no bureaucracy, no endless debate, just action. Trexel's crystalline body trembled slightly. They actually do it. They do what they said. Kriv, still snapping his pincers, stared at the screens with a mixture of disbelief and awe. One ship, one species, handling multiple systems at once, it is impossible. But it was happening. The humans' drones scanned planets under siege, neutralized rogue fleets, and shielded settlements with technology that seemed miraculous to the other species. Colonists, previously terrified and abandoned, were evacuated calmly. Hospitals received supplies. Communications networks were restored. Life was saved, not through intimidation or conquest, but through ingenuity, courage, and determination. Captain Voss's voice came over the ship's intercom. "All units report status. Focus on protection. Save life first. Attack only if necessary." The crew moved like shadows across the ship, deploying rapid response craft, coordinating orbital defenses, and transmitting instructions to local planetary forces. The humans were small in number, but their presence had an effect that far exceeded expectations. Each action was purposeful, calculated, and humane. Back in the council chamber, a heavy silence hung over the delegates. They had expected threats, warnings, perhaps arrogance, but not this. Not a species acting purely for the sake of life, with no visible desire for power, profit, or conquest. The humans were rewriting the rules of the galaxy simply by being who they were. Zilak's voice was quiet but filled with awe. I do not know what to say. They are extraordinary." Captain Voss's holographic image appeared briefly in the chamber. "You do not need to speak," she said calmly. "Observe and remember, action is what defines a species. Courage is what defines a leader. Humans are not perfect, but we face what must be faced. That is our choice. That is our responsibility." Tears formed in some delegates' eyes, a mixture of shame, relief, and wonder. They had witnessed hundreds of years of councils, debates, and decisions that often cost lives because of hesitation. Now a single species was proving that courage could outweigh centuries of indecision. Kriv finally lowered his pincers, voice trembling. Perhaps we have judged them too harshly. Trexel nodded slowly. Not just judged. Perhaps we have forgotten what it means to truly act for life, to fight for what is right, even when impossible. Outside, the Vanguard hovered above the cluster, its black hull reflecting the twin suns. It was quiet, but the hum of its engines carried a weight far greater than any council or fleet could measure. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as a force of courage, determination, and hope. Captain Voss looked at her crew, pride in her eyes. This is only the beginning. Humanity does not stop. We protect. We act, we endure. The galaxy will remember today. They will remember what humans are capable of. And they will remember that courage cannot be ignored. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt something they had long forgotten. Inspiration. Not fear, not control, but the quiet, unshakable belief that one species, acting with courage and purpose, could change the fate of the galaxy, and humanity had done exactly that. The Galactic Council chamber was silent, but it was a silence different from before. The tension had not vanished. It had transformed into something heavier, something the delegates had not felt in centuries. Respect, awe, and the uncomfortable realization that humans were no longer a species to ignore. Zilak, wings trembling faintly, rose from the podium. His voice carried through the chamber, low and steady. Council members, we have witnessed actions beyond what we expected. Humans have acted decisively, courageously, and without seeking power. They have saved lives across multiple sectors. They have proven what many of us feared to admit. We have underestimated them. Whispers ran through the room. Some delegates bowed slightly, others remained frozen, still processing the events. For centuries, humans had been dismissed as small, weak, or insignificant. And now one species had shifted the perception of an entire galaxy. Captain Elara Voss's hologram appeared in the chamber once more, calm and unwavering. We do not seek praise, council members, she said. We do not act for recognition or glory. Humanity acts because it must. We act because life matters, because courage matters, because waiting while others perish is not an option. That is all we ask the galaxy to understand. Kriv, the crustacean delegate, finally spoke. His voice was hesitant yet carried weight. We have judged incorrectly. Humans, you have shown us something that we cannot ignore. You do not seek dominance. You seek protection. And yet your strength is undeniable. Captain Voss nodded. Strength is meaningless without purpose. Humanity has the ability to destroy, yes, but we choose to defend. That is the difference. That is what we bring to the galaxy. The willingness to act when others hesitate, to stand when others falter, to endure when others surrender. Trexel's crystalline body shimmered, light reflecting in every direction. I see now that courage, determination, and ingenuity are as powerful as fleets, armies, and centuries of rule. You have taught us humans that action defines the future, not words or reputation. Zilak exhaled, a long, quiet sound, the weight of centuries pressing down upon him. Then let it be known, he declared. The Galactic Council recognizes humanity as a species of significance, not because of size or history, but because of courage, action, and the relentless pursuit of life's protection. Humanity will have a voice in the Council, and its actions will guide us as a reminder of what true courage can achieve. The chamber erupted into murmurs, some cautious, some celebratory. For the first time, humans were no longer myths. They were leaders, protectors, and an example to the galaxy of what determination could accomplish. Captain Voss's hologram smiled faintly. Thank you, council members. We will not fail the trust you have given us. We will act with honor, with clarity, and with purpose. And we will continue to remind the galaxy that courage matters, and that life is worth protecting, even when impossible. Outside, the USS Vanguard floated silently, its black hull reflecting the crystal light of the Council's chamber and the twin suns beyond. The ship had not fired a shot, had not demanded tribute, had not conquered a single system. Yet it had accomplished something greater. It had changed the hearts and minds of an entire galaxy. The Council, once rigid and slow, now felt a spark of inspiration. Some delegates were moved to tears, others felt pride in finally witnessing what humanity had always been capable of. The galaxy had been reminded that true strength was not measured in fleets or empires, but in courage, unity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. Captain Voss looked out at the stars from the bridge of the Vanguard, a quiet smile on her face. Humanity had proven itself not by war or domination, but by its resolve to protect and endure. And in that moment, one undeniable truth became clear to all who observed. Humans were no longer underestimated. Humans were no longer minor players in the galaxy. Humans were a force of courage, hope, and change. A reminder that the smallest species could, when united and determined, leave a mark that would be remembered for centuries to come. The galaxy would never forget the day a single human warship arrived unannounced and reminded them all what it truly meant to be fearless.